Enter the stars. And this is the breastplate, the ancient Hebrew breastplate, with 12 stones. Now, for everything that God does that is good, the enemy has an evil counterpart, and that would be the chest plate of Darth Vader. Yes, Lord Vader's chest plate was indicative of the dark side of what I'm going to show you next. Now, this is what's interesting because your ribs also have 12 on each side, just like the 12 rainbow of colors on the chest plate of righteousness. But here's what you didn't know about the human rib cage, and that is that there are 2 floating ribs, there are 3 false ribs, and there are 7 true fixed ribs. That's 2, 3, and 7. And that number is important because it showed up in the film The Shining on the room number 237. Now, here's where things get interesting because there are many theories behind the number 237 other than the layout of the human rib cage. They believe that this could have tied into the moon landing, 237,000 miles between Earth and the moon. But also, when you multiply 2 times 3 times 7, you get 42. And it just so happens that 42 is the number of generations between Abraham and Jesus Christ. 14 generations from Abraham to David, 14 generations from David to the exile in Babylon, and 14 generations from the exile in Babylon to the crucifixion of Christ. The number 42, which is a very interesting number because it represents the exact angle that is necessary for you to view a rainbow. Which brings us full circle to the priestly breastplate, the rainbow of colors. Now, this goes even far deeper because what you're looking at here is crystallized honey. Yes, this is the crystallization of honey, the honeycomb. And you will notice that this looks a lot like a star, a twinkling star with a rainbow of colors. Now, this was talked about in the book of Judges. There was honey inside of the carcass of a lion. Samson stumbled upon this on his way to meet his new wife, who was of the Philistines. The 2 seeds. What is a seed? A seed is a flower. What do flowers produce? They produce honey. And the bees gather that honey. So what you have here is a story showing scientific evidence of the knowledge of all of these things way back in the book of Judges. I'm going to show you now some things that are just going to blow you away. Because this is the lion's carcass. And what you will see is 1 floating rib, 3 false ribs, 8 true ribs, 1, 3, and 8. And that number miraculously fits in to honey. This is honey, and honey has a density of 1.38, the same number of the ribs of a lion talked about in the book of Judges. But the number 138 doesn't just appear in the density of honey, 1.38 kilograms per liter. It also appears in the amount of fructose in honey, 38%, as well as the amount of riboflavin, the main ingredient, 0.038 milligrams. And finally, the number of kilograms necessary of honey to secrete 454 grams. 3.8 kilograms required to secrete 454 grams of wax. So you see, scientific evidence that the things mentioned in the Bible, nobody could have known. Now the dark side knows all about the number 138. And the Misfits sang about the 138 in a song written by Danzig called We Are 138. And in this song, the number 8 is mentioned 42 times as they talk about the tiger, which has a 138 rib configuration, as we talked about earlier in this video. Take care and be safe, everybody.